This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Something unexpected happened after Jeremy Scott confessed to killing Michelle Schofield in Bone Valley Season 1.
Every time I hear about my dad, it's, oh, he's a killer. He's just straight evil.
I was becoming the bridge between Jeremy Scott and the son he'd never known.
At the end of the day, I'm literally a son of a killer.
Listen to new episodes of Bone Valley Season 2 starting April 9th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Friday football feast is in the air, and we've gone full strength.
PA and Charch.
Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen.
Football feast.
It's Paul Allen. Kara Savage produces, and the full strength portion of the equation would be Paul Charchian of Guillotine League and guillotineleagues.com rejoining the equation. That was a long time. What the heck? Where have you been? Holy cow, and good morning.
Good morning. I took a month off. I took a month away.
It was more than a month.
A little closer to 6 weeks. But yes, it's going to sound like a midlife crisis. But I think I've already had that, and I don't think you get two.
Right.
I just wanted to get away.
Right.
I've never taken an extended vacation. I've never had the luxury of just like going away for 6 weeks. And so it was almost 6 weeks, and I went to Utah in a cabin in the mountains at 8,000 feet, and I just holed up with my wife and had a just an opportunity to step away from career, Minnesota, cold,
clips,
everything, just
rigmarole,
right, just get away.
Feast prep, Tolstoy.
Yeah, no feast prep, no Tolstoy.
Right.
And it was, I don't think I could have done it in any other month of my life than this one. And so decided that was the right time. Wanted to be back for the draft.
Oh, hold on. Kara, your mic's on.
I always love that one.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Continue.
And it was weird. I had intended to watch sports and to keep up on stuff.
Yeah.
The new and improved FanDuel Sports Network app would not let me watch in Colorado or Utah would not let me watch Wolves and Wild. It's like, oh my God, you're in Colorado, you're in Utah. We can't do this. You're supposed to be in Minnesota. So I really unplugged from most sports for 6 weeks. It was weird, Paul.
The intricate nature of it, like the nuance, because I would imagine you would follow things at websites or on social media, and you'd be like, oh, cool, Ant did this. Oh, cool.
That is correct.
The Wild are here. Oh, cool, we got these players.
Yes, that is correct.
Right.
And I followed the NFL's movements and free agency because I love it. And I didn't want to not be a part of that. And of course I watched the Vikings offseason moves very closely.
Well, you can't turn it off.
I can't turn that part off because I love to do that. Even on vacation in a mountain cabin in Utah,
right.
I still care about the Vikings offseason. So yeah, it was a long time. It was a reset.
It was a long time. Guessing you love the additions of Ryan Kelly and Will Fries. I have to explain to you who they are.
No,
You've been gone that long.
No.
I mean, you probably know more about Walker Kessler of the Utah Jazz and that aggressive Salt Lake City hockey team that sells out and they're all wild and everything than you do Ryan Kelly and Will Fries.
Will Fries is going to be a huge upgrade for this team. I did not think that he'd really be in play. That was exciting, regarded as one of the league's best young interior linemen.
Kara, hotline.
I always love that one.
Just kidding.
More of a pass blocker than a run blocker. Not really a grader, but he can get up and move. And this team could be could really do some fun zone blocking things. As a run blocker last year, he was Pro Football Focus's fourth highest ranked run blocking guard. Love that. Pass blocking gave up just 6 pressures on 153 passing snaps last year. Will Fries, Paul.
You do the Friday football feast with Paul Charchian and a Field Yates fan club breaks out.
I
always love that.
Look,
one.
This was the thing we had to fix. Guard. Overall, Kwesi, when last we talked, Paul, we had identified positions of need. All Kwesi did was attack the positions of need. He put equity towards all the spots that had to be filled. Spent the second most money in the offseason, needed a defensive tackle badly. Javon Hargrave.
Javon.
Yeah. Thank you.
I thought it was Javon, too.
One of the best pass rushing interior linemen really in the league over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
Now, age 32, missed a lot of last year with injury, which is a recurring theme of this offseason's signings by Kwesi. But I don't know how you argue with that. That's Javon Hargrave. We'll take that.
He's on the train, ladies and gentlemen.
Free agency never fails on the Kwesi train.
Hey, Friday football beast.
Free agency never fails on the Kwesi train.
You were saying?
Ryan Kelly needed to upgrade it at center. We got him. Now, again, older player, but I'm at this stage, don't care. 32 years old, 10th NFL season, very capable player, a very good pass blocker, and a good enough run blocker. And here's the thing about center. Center quarterback have got a unique relationship. And not just because of where the quarterback's hands go.
Right.
But also because, your center is the one who's calling out assignments.
Yeah.
He's the one that's making defensive reads.
Yeah.
Center is really important for a young quarterback. You get a 10-year high-level center in Ryan Kelly.
Yeah.
Will help J.J. McCarthy a ton.
The owners' meetings in glitzy West Palm Beach, Florida, my friend, just came to a conclusion.
They did.
There was a common thread response towards the way the Minnesota Vikings handled free agency from all the coaches in the NFC North. Paraphrasing, they all basically were saying, "You lucky suckers." Now, you let me ask you this before we welcome Chad Greenway in, because we're going to play Dealer's Choice today, because there's a lot that happened while you were gone. So we're going to throw the cards in the air.
Do it.
We're going to wave our hands like we just don't care with the Friday football feast going to full strength, 9 to noon style. Good morning. And that's coming up a little later between Chad Greenway and Alec Lewis from The Athletic. Joins about 11 o'clock. Let me ask you this. And you explained it a little bit, but I'd like you to unpack a little more deeply. You grind hard at your toil most of the year. So what was it like for a month and change traversing those badlands of Utah and that beautiful part of the country for that month and change with minimal work-related clips with which to deal? Now that you can reflect, what was that like? Because I'm not big envy guy. I must concede that there was a little envy during the course of the run, given I'm also one that grinds. You were gone so long, and it must have felt good.
It felt amazing. I got to see and really spend time, for the first time really ever, spend enough time in a different location of the world to think about, could I live here? Is this someplace nice? Do I like the people? Do I like you can really start to evaluate that. What would I do?
You started to learn secret handshakes and wear weird garments and stuff like that?
Not quite that. There,
okay.
You do. There are you do see the Mormons wearing, I guess there's ranges of Mormonism, and at one end of it, you see the people who wear the sort of the dresses and the
weird
suits
garments
and stuff
underneath.
You see some of that, but that's probably, I don't know, like 2% of the population.
Right.
And here's one of the things that I learned about at least Southern Utah. Everybody's just nice.
Wow.
I'm just talking to you like, you're sitting in a restaurant. So
That's what you said about Plymouth when you first moved there 15 years ago.
That's right. And 15 years ago it was nice. Then the riffraff came in.
They used to be nice to me at Buffalo Wild Wings when we were watching the games.
Yeah, it was, Southern Utah is so gorgeous. Like, even from the highway, you take a turn in the highway and it opens up this vista of these rolling red mesas. You're like, what am I looking at?
Unbelievable.
It is. And the weather, of course, was, it's 2 months ahead of here, so the weather was always glorious for the most part.
Any weird toe tapping in the stalls of the rest stops?
Only at MSP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not Utah?
No.
Okay.
No. You do fly in to get to Southern Utah, where I did. You fly in and out of Vegas, so I got to get the the Vegas experience a little bit. Got
say
down
hi to
there.
Mr. Windham.
Did not stay at Planet Hollywood this time.
That doesn't mean you can't say hi to him.
I know. Yeah. He's one of our all-time favorites, of course.
My child, who graduates in a month from the University of Colorado, is actually in South Utah right now.
No way.
She and her friend Mary arrived yesterday at a place called South Jordan, Utah, and they're going to be skiing all weekend.
Yeah, it is still. They still get tons of snow up in the mountains, and skiing is a huge deal in all of Utah, but Southern Utah too. That's super cool. I didn't know you skied, but if you spend enough time in Colorado, you learn to ski, right?
Yeah.
Did you take Coley out skiing as a kid?
I always love that one.
Those chalets have really powerful Wi-Fi and nice warm places to sit.
Have
old
you
chalets.
ever downhill skied?
Yes, I skied quite a bit when I lived in Southern California at a place called Mammoth Mountain.
Oh,
and when I called races in Northern California to get up to South Lake Tahoe and to ski a place called Heavenly every so often. I'm not of the diamond variety.
I hope not.
But I can handle the moguls.
Can you really?
Not only on the hills, but the metaphorical ones that fire at us in life.
Yes.
And yes, I can get up and down a hill, but not.
Could you right now? Like if we strapped skis on you right now, and we brought you to Buck Hill.
I don't know. Buck Hill, yes.
You can handle Buck Hill.
If we were to go to the places she goes, Copper Mountain, Breckenridge, Keystone, places like that in Colorado.
Yeah.
I could make it, but I would require 5 St. Bernards trailing me with those aggressive things.
The whiskey barrel?
The whiskey barrel that has medical equipment inside of it.
I always love that
It's a knees and hips thing. Did you happen to do anything different from when you are back here, like start any habits anew? I mean, because you read books already. Like book reading's boring to me, but do you already do that?
We did a lot of hiking. I don't do a lot of hiking around here, but when you are an hour's drive from Zion, Bryce Canyon, Snow Canyon, and we did a ton of just gorgeous hikes, and that's it's a very outdoor, like Colorado. You go to Colorado, you're like, everybody's on a bike. Yeah. Everybody's outside.
Yeah,
Same thing in Utah. Everybody outside all the time. We saw the weather go from beginning of March, where it was still pretty cold, to end of March was very warm. By the end of March, everybody's outside. They're biking, they're hiking, they're on their dirt bikes, they're on their ATVs, as they say side by sides. And now I feel like I need to go buy a side-by-side.
What up?
Do you know how much those cost? Well,
Side-by-sides?
Greenway does, because you've got one.
What's up, Chad?
ATV. I'm looking at ATV. I'm like, so I'm getting ATV envy while I'm down there, because all these people have ATVs. Like every other house has got an RV and or an ATV. Mm-hmm. And the garages, they've all got RV garages and stuff, and it's just a huge part of the lifestyle in Southern Utah. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at this ATV that this guy's got, and it's gorgeous. It's a Can-Am something.
We talk about Polaris up here.
Yeah, I know we did. And although people, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about them. But here's what I'm like. Okay, if I ever move to Southern Utah, I got to go get one. I wonder what they cost. So I just Googled this Can-Am, like Rebel Advanced or something.
Are you talking UTV or ATV?
I don't know. What's the difference?
Four-wheeler, like UTV will have like has like a cover, protector. It's like
Yes.
It's got a bed in the back, and you can carry some things around.
Right.
A lot of those in Mount Vernon.
Four-wheelers just got 4 tires and 2 seats. Essentially, you jump on and go.
Yeah.
No. So this is like covered, and I'm like, that's the one I want, but I don't know anything about it. But like, that looks super cool. I like the utility of it. It did have the little bed in the back.
UTV.
It's Utah, man. Are you sure it's not a covered wagon?
I always love that one.
Good question.
You want to guess what this thing costs?
Yeah, I mean, probably $30,000.
$80,000.
Well,
it's a lawnmower with four wheels. Come on.
Well, it's more than that. First of all, let's start over on that. But secondly,
that's the last 6-week vacation you're ever taking.
I would say, and good morning, by the way.
Good morning.
You walk into this situation. I would just say, yes, you can.
It's a radio show. It's not a situation.
You can trick. Well, maybe I'll make it a situation. You can walk. You can basically add on, bolt on all these different things, winches and new tires and all these different things. Windshield wiper, you make it more like an actual vehicle that's road legal, not knowing the Utah, the rules out there, laws.
Anything goes, basically.
Okay, well, so they're making them all road, they're all making them road legal.
They are the road
but
legal.
you can, that's like the higher end, highest end I've actually ever heard. But they're usually in that like 20 to 40K range, typically would be my guess.
80,000. My full-size pickup truck didn't cost $80,000.
Well,
let alone an ATV.
Can you get some leather seats next time, you tight
UTV. Jeez. Wow.
Get it now.
He got the cloth seats in that.
That's Chad Greenway. And he's here courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka and Grey Duck Spirits. That's Paul Charchian. Covenant claps, ladies and gentlemen, for the return of Paul Charchian.
Thank you.
To make the Friday football feast a full-strength presentation Kara Savage produces today, and I'm Paul Allen. When we return, we will go full throttle with Mr. Chad Greenway and chat about myriad things, including something I saw yesterday that reminded me of 5-2 radio. Thank you for listening to FM 100.3 KFAN whenever you do. And all of that is part of the Timber Tech What's on Deck set list, which includes 5-2 radio right now. And Alec Lewis from The Athletic in studio at 11 o'clock. PA and Charch are feasting on the...
Something unexpected happened after Jeremy Scott confessed to killing Michelle Schofield in Bone Valley Season 1.
I just knew him as a kid.
Long, silent voices from his past came forward.
And he was just staring at me.
And they had secrets of their own to share.
Gilbert King. I'm the son of Jeremy Lynn Scott.
I was no longer just telling the story. I was part of it.
Every time I hear about my dad, he's a killer. He's just straight evil.
I was becoming the bridge between a killer and the son he'd never known.
If the cops and everything would have done their job properly, my dad would have been in jail. I would have never existed.
I never expected to find myself in this place. Now, I need to tell you how I got here.
At the end of the day, I'm literally a son of a killer.
Bone Valley, Season 2. Jeremy.
Jeremy, I want to tell you something.
Listen to new episodes of Bone Valley Season 2 starting April 9th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And to hear the entire new season ad-free with exclusive content starting April 9th, subscribe to Lava for Good Plus on Apple Podcasts.
Fan. Friday football feast, hey. Friday football feast, full strength edition, PA and Charch, vibing on a Friday. Chad Greenway, once again, courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka and Grey Duck Spirits. I saw the Grey Duck deck yesterday. Looking pretty fresh. The team lost to the no-hitting Astros, but the deck was popping. And of course, I thought of Chad Greenway with the Grey Duck deck out there at Target Field. And Yeah, it wasn't a sellout, but the deck was popping, man.
The deck was popping. I appreciate you bringing that up. Opening day is always a special day. It's the vibe, and we've been there now. We've been part of this with the organization for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
up there in the Grey Duck deck, and every year kind of has its own little world it lives in. And this one was obviously weather related. But went to Cowboy Jacks, which have had a great relationship with them throughout the whole summer with Twins baseball.
Rode your Polaris to Cowboy Jacks for Grey Duck experience.
Free plugs all day long.
Yeah. And last long.
And at the end of the day is you get to the Grey Duck deck and you realize that even under like these circumstances, Twins aren't off to a hot start necessarily, right? 2-5 sitting there. We were tied for the first going to the game yesterday at 2-4.
It's a 162 game season.
But when you're
the
2-4,
Twins went from first to last in one day.
Yes,
in a 162 game season.
When you do start 2-4 and you have the opening day 7 games in.
Yeah.
It can still stake the steam out. Oh, by the way, it's 42 out with like 15-mile-an-hour wind.
Right.
That's fun.
You're acting like if there aren't 40,000 in the ballpark, Grey Duck's going to become black and white duck and just like go by the way of the red.
40,000 in the ballpark and 10,000 were on the deck yesterday. I mean, it was
amazing.
Well, see,
only in Minnesota.
I'm glad you said what you said because 9 to Noon did the radio show from Target Field yesterday. It was going to be the inaugural, and you may be part of one of these down the road.
Yeah.
It was going to be the inaugural Vox in the batter's box where we were going to be right in front of the dugout and everything, but it was
high and hard.
It was all windy and the cold part we could deal with. The wind, it was a little bit of a problem. So it became Vox in the press box. So we've now done Vox in the press box. Vox in the Box for hockey, the exclusive Vikings radio network perch overlooking the 5 perfectly manicured practice fields. Actually 4 because the 5th is gone. It was the Mike Hughes Memorial Field.
I always love that one.
And we've and from Glenn Taylor's suite at a Timberwolves practice. So we've hit the superfecta. But I'm really glad what Chad just said because yesterday reminded me, no matter how far baseball has fallen off the radar or the perception thereof, home openers and opening days in baseball forever will be special. And especially when the team plays the exhibitions in Florida. So some people get down to Fort Myers, but not a lot of people do. You guys feel that, or are you just out on baseball due to no salary cap or centralized TV deal?
I mean, for me, it is. It's
nostalgic.
It's nostalgic. It's historic. It's just one of those things. And I am very casual baseball fan. I mean, obviously followed the Twins, have my whole life. That was the first team I actually followed growing up. First professional sporting event I ever went to.
In South Dakota, do you have to decide between the Kansas City Royals,
the Rockies,
Colorado Rockies, and Minnesota Twins?
That's
Right?
it. Yeah. Or just like some California, like the San Francisco Giants. Like it's something random.
Yeah. So you can dream to live in a place with big buildings and Wi-Fi.
Exactly. Someday. And but I think there's nostalgia around baseball as America's favorite pastime, right? Is what we've always done. You grow up, and now the game has certainly changed. But when you show up on a day like yesterday, you appreciate that we're not playing indoors. You appreciate that we're not in the Metrodome because it's a game meant to be played outside.
Yeah.
It's hopefully the weather was better. It wasn't, but it will be. And just the vibe is so good. And the reaction to good baseball at the beginning of the game, and then things got sideways. But the reality is like there's just something about it that is I'm trying to find the right word, but it's almost like
it's nostalgic. All right, 3-2. Nostalgic.
Yeah, it's almost like the 4th of July for our country.
Yes.
Like it's one of those things. It's just like it's patriotic. Yes. And there's something about it I love about it.
It's supposed to be.
Okay,
I think
here comes the lack of a salary cap and centralized TV deal portion of the equation.
Dig into your emotions for love of God.
Get into it,
finance bro.
Yeah, secret handshake though.
I think for most of the country, it's a signifier of spring. Right? This is, it's opening day and you're going to be outside on what, you hope is going to be a 55 or 65 or 75 degree day. Mm-hmm. We typically do not get that at our opening day here. Mm. That's just, doesn't work that way.
It didn't snow.
There's that. We did not get snow or sleet or sneet, which is great.
No sneet.
It's no sneet. Sneet-free event. I wanted to watch it on TV. What did I miss? Can you watch Twins games on TV at this point?
Let me tell you something.
What did I miss while I was gone?
Let me tell you something about what you missed.
Okay.
You missed the experience of rubbing elbows with other Minnesota Twins fans and having and taking in the experience on the Grey Duck deck or any other place in that stadium because it is a vibe when you get in that stadium. I'm telling you, like I walked in, I've been to lots of professional sporting events, and I've watched a lot on TV.
Yeah.
You can't get the touch, the feel, the emotion, the energy in the building.
Yep.
Even on opening day for at this point a 2-5 team, it just still exists.
I felt that too. That's why I crafted what I crafted to see because I follow baseball probably more closely than you two.
You do.
I have the MLB extra innings package, get home from Canterbury late after, say, a Saturday of race calling. And I like settling into, I'm not going to watch
Tampa, Baltimore.
The 0-2 pitch. I'm not going to watch every pitch, but I like the TV boxes. And you got like the Mariners or the Giants or the Padres or the Athletics who now play at Sacramento or the Dodgers or the Angels. So late night baseball is kind of cool. It's just kind of a chill as you start to get ready for Saturday evening into Sunday. But he's right. I mean, it just has, it's like the Dallas Cowboys no longer are considered America's team. Major League Baseball probably no longer is. It is America's pastime, but nevertheless, it's not
literally.
It's not. It's not glorified or rhapsodized in this high energy day and age the way it used to be. But nevertheless, it's. I'm glad you said that because I felt that too yesterday. Man.
You missed the flyover because you probably took off, right?
You think I didn't? Yeah, I did the show and felt the vibe. Then I'm not saying.
Didn't see first pitch.
Yeah. Well, your answer to TV. Some TV situation closed day of their season opener. So it's like if you have DirecTV, you got to go here. If you have this, so I'm in the Comcast covenant. They had a rain delay Monday against the Chicago White Sox, and quite honestly, I'm glad they did. Because it took me that entire rain delay to find 1261 on my channel lineup.
1261?
I'm up in the 1261s.
You're in the 1000s to get to a Twins game.
Yeah. So now that I know that, because I'm in the Comcast neighborhood as well. Yeah, I got it now. Thank you for that.
Jeez. Now, for baseball, there is something different about being in the park. Because the pace of play to me is way better in person than it is on television.
Yeah.
You know, in person, I'm not getting the ads, the pace of play is it's obviously better now with the pitch clock and everything. But still, to me, it's just more of an in-person experience where I'm chatting with the person next to me. I'm making friends with the person to my left. It's just so casual. You can take it in slowly. You don't have to have eyes on the field every single second.
I'd say this for my family. This may sound controversial, but I would rather take a baseball game live in person, taking part of the stadium and the hot dog and the $12 whatever it is.
That's water.
It's great. Okay, but the reality is, not on the Grey Duck deck, my friend.
Okay, all right.
You've not been.
And with the food, Target Field's terrific with
Elite.
the food. They got something called the Brats briefcase.
I saw that.
What's
Did you
that?
see
Saw that. Elite.
It's a bunch of brats
with kraut.
With kraut with it and other stuff, and it's lined up in this briefcase thing that you carry.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's got a handle, and you carry it back, and you bring 8.
Wait until Doge gets a hold of that.
Oh, baby. Inefficient.
And I would say he said that. Weird.
But if you, my family, at a game live, they will not sit at home and watch a baseball game. They're distracted. They're running around. But a football game, they'd actually prefer to watch at home rather than at the stadium.
It's such a good TV sport.
Yeah, it's just a great TV sport. But I think baseball is.
Can you consider that I still need to go to Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center before off-season workouts?
I always love
like you
that
said,
one.
football games are unbelievable in person.
Yeah. No, listen. I played the game. I get it. But there's a lot. If I'm taking my family to a game, if I'm just innocent bystander, didn't play the NFL guy.
Hold on, Kara, we can hear that on the radio.
I always love that.
Just kidding.
So did you get her?
Yeah, well, we're raising a producer, and she's still quite new to it, so therefore it's like teasing her.
You got to cut her teeth.
Yeah, for sure.
But in football, there's so many things to look at one time within a play, a snap, and then there's 30 seconds, and we have the huddle and the whole 9 yards, and here we go. Where baseball, it's like you're not even almost there for the game. You're there for almost everything else.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we get a hit, and everybody goes crazy, and you love it. So it's just a different experience, different sport.
The bratwurst is a universally beloved meat substance, right?
Is.
It's different than the hot dog because
that's what I call bologna, a meat substance,
which is pretty fair.
Yeah,
I mean, in the bologna.
Now, if Oscar Mayer wants to, pick up a little 2-year endorsement here. Bologna is my first home. OSCAR.
The brat, you get the snap of the casing, and I don't need to know what the casing is. It's just whatever it is.
That film?
Fine, you get the snap of the casing.
Yep.
Right.
It's got the higher grease.
It's just
content on the inside, right?
Best ever.
And then you absolutely ruin it by putting sauerkraut on it. Why would you? You're like, okay, it's hot, it's delicious, it's greasy, it's meat. You know what it needs to be? Bitter and sour.
No, that's why
Nobody wants that.
But that's why the briefcase is elite, because you don't have to have the kraut on all of them.
Yeah.
The kraut you can pick and choose and say, I'll try
jalapenos, anything.
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
Mustard or ketchup with your brat.
Okay, let's be clear.
Yeah.
Because there is a right and wrong answer on this.
Yeah.
Mustard belongs on hot dogs, bratwurst. Absolutely belongs. Ketchup?
What? Ketchup belongs on everything.
Hot dog purists will tell you.
Except cereal.
And ice cream.
Well, hot
ketchup
dog purists,
does not go on.
which are in Chicago, mostly in New York,
That's right.
say there's absolutely no ketchup.
What would you know
No
about
ketchup.
Chicago?
That's right. Thank you. And the other thing.
But they put tomatoes and weird stuff on pickles and.
Yeah, which is actually
And
delicious.
it's
The
good.
Chicago dog is outstanding.
I mean, I'll have one, but I prefer chili.
Okay. The most important takeaway of this riveting conversation is this.
Yeah.
Who's ever bitten into a hot dog or brat and said, okay, I need it to be bitter and sour with sauerkraut, and I need it to be sugary sweet with my sweet relish? Who wants to put sugar and pickle on your hot dog?
I'm not a relish guy.
No, it dill relish, I totally get.
Yeah,
dill
not
relish it's chopped up pickle, basically.
Yep.
That's delicious. But it's always sweet relish at every ballpark in America.
Right.
I'm out
you can
on that.
never
It's America's
get
pastime.
dill relish?
Yes.
That should also be in the literal pastime.
I do not need my hot dog sweeter. I don't even understand the thinking on that. And then the last thing on the dill relish that bugs me.
But the bread kind of offsets a lot of this and brings it together.
Can we bring this back to Minnesota though? Can we talk about
cohesiveness,
the wild rice
taste
in the brat?
Wild rice in the brat.
Wild rice.
Now we're talking. We're kind of bringing home to Minnesota here. Let's kind of get in the covenant here.
Yeah.
Wild rice in the brat.
I can do without wild rice in my brat.
Well, you're not from here. I mean, you're not a Midwest guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
You've only been here 30 years.
It's just you got to try it.
Okay.
It's good.
I understand.
I don't also like that the condiments are just open to the public, right? I mean, I don't know who's had their hand in the sweet relish before me. I just don't.
Sneezed.
Or sneezed.
Those
or
wenches he was talking about last segment.
Yeah.
There's where the hands came from.
I always love that.
Okay,
one.
now hold on. We just saw Cooper Flagg for the Duke Blue Devils on television. My man's NIL is either 4.1 or 4.8 million. Okay, so God bless Cooper Flagg.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool, man. But let me, this just triggered a thought. What if college basketball is becoming Major League Baseball due to NIL? And here's what I mean. Forever the haves and the Cinderellas or perceived have-nots no longer are going to be able to pull upset after upset after upset. And what kind of triggered this that I wrote down for the Friday football feast is earlier this week, 9 to noon, had North Dakota State University coach Tim Polasek on the radio to talk about offensive lineman Gray Zabel. And, we talked about Gray and we talked about the quarterback. I think it's Cam Miller, who might get drafted, stuff like that. But you can just tell the transfer portal and or NIL, but mostly the portal, gets under my man's skin sometimes. It's like, find some gems, raise them at the FCS level, find some gems, raise them, they get good. And then the FBS big dogs try to crash the covenant and steal them. Yeah. That's like the lot in life, and it's frustrating for a lot of these people. And then you look now, we got all these ones in the Final Four. Doesn't mean it's always going to be like that. But with the ease or lack of regulating the transfers, the NIL, I'm pro NIL for these kids. The transfer portal, I feel, needs more regulating, period. Because it's like you can be in the Final Four with Georgia Tech one year, Final Four with Florida Atlantic the next year. Oh, and by the way, my man surfaces in Florida, and now he's running with the Gators in the Final Four again. Now, those are the rules, and believe me, he and they are taking advantage of them. But again, finding the Chad Greenways from Mount Vernon, raising them. Holy cow, he grew. He knows how to lift weights. He's really good watching film. Chad got really, really good. Cool. Somebody call Nick Saban because he's going to be there in 3 weeks, and his NIL just went up 5 times.
Yeah, this is things like eating an elephant, though. Like, how do you even get started to fix this? And that's one of the issues is the NCAA 10 years ago, when this thing started to become a conversation, it's like you need to put some guardrails around this thing then. Before all of a sudden the toothpaste gets out of the tube and you can't put it back in. Like, how do you go back and say, you know what, just kidding, you only get one free transfer? Like, that may be something that they do in the future. I know there's a ruling coming down soon in April, maybe even this week or next, talking about the dollars now becoming a revenue sharing situation, which is going to happen really quickly. Now, every university is going to even become more, in my opinion, the haves and have-nots. Like, here's your revenue sharing.
So what this is, like the Golden Gophers, I think it's a $20 million pot. And give or take a few percentages, I think 85, it goes to 5 revenue generating sports. So for the Gophers, I probably shouldn't go down this road.
Hockey, basketball, football.
Yeah, women's basketball maybe. There are 5 of them. 85% goes to football. Okay, so there's 85 right there.
Are they making 85% of the revenue?
My guess is yes.
Probably.
I don't know the numbers. The point is like everybody's going to
bid,
and everybody's going to split their percentages based off of, I suppose what the revenue is, what they're creating, and also how they want to, based on what they want to push, what sport they want to push.
But that's not the portal.
That is not the portal. That's a separate deal.
The portal, and I don't know if it has any regulating. I don't think it does.
I think you can do it once a year, right? Isn't it regulated that way? I think that's, but as far as I know, it's the only
a window. It's a window like a free agency window that opens and closes. In this case, it closes. Right. And you literally have starters from USC women's team who just went to the Elite Eight and were one injury away from being in the Final Four, most likely, with Juju going down. Yeah. They have 2 of their starters that went to portal this week. Yeah. You just started for an Elite Eight team who played a ton of minutes.
Right. And a week later, you're gone.
But what happens is what? Their agent or their parents or whatever say, hey, you know what? There's kids getting $400,000 or $500,000 in the portal. Yeah. You should probably get out of here because your number's this. And it just becomes, again, it comes down to kids going to make more money. And at the end of the day, can you fault these families for making that decision? It's a hard question to answer. You can't because you don't know those situations. But the reality is
it's tricky.
That's why you put guardrails and some understanding around. Is like maybe you get a free transfer. Maybe you get a transfer if your coach leaves. There's some things you can build in where all of a sudden it opens up this window. But I think everybody, almost everybody would agree that some rules around this where tries to keep the mid-majors, as we talked about, the NDSUs in football, which are probably much more above a mid-major at this point, what they're producing for NFL talent. But the reality is all of a sudden somebody comes in and is going to offer this kid $1 million a year. They're probably not going to say no when it's $800,000 difference per year. That is life-changing money for that family and that kid.
And they can push a button and they're gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's and it's,
I think you send a text, actually. No.
Yeah, you're probably right.
The button is send.
Now, I mean,
it's a tricky talker. Be very careful, okay?
Well, it is because you want people to be able to go get the money that they can get wherever they can get it. You don't want to impede somebody from making that $800,000 and changing their life and, invested properly. That's your retirement. You're done.
Yep.
At age 22, your retirement is set, or whatever. You don't want to impede those people. But at the same time, the fans and the programs get gutted when every time a star leaves. You follow these people, you get emotionally connected to them, you put time, in some cases you put money into tickets and buying, jerseys and whatever, and then players gone.
Yeah, the amateurism's gone. So also the fans feel like, well, they got a stake in this because they're getting paid, right? So we better have these expectations really high. And if they're not going to do it, we need to get rid of this kid. We need to send him off, and can cut his scholarship. That's just what's going to end up happening. It already is.
And even worse than in the pros, where you have a contract. At least I know the player's going to be here for 3 years, right? So if I buy that jersey, I've got the right jersey with the right number and the right player for at least 3 seasons.
100%.
But
my last point on this one, real quick, is how many kids that are in the portal. There's something like 2,000 kids or something, men's and women's basketball now. Just talking basketball alone. How many of those kids aren't going to find a home next year when they had one? You may have a good situation.
What do you mean?
Well, let's say I'm coming off the bench for so-and-so team. Doesn't really matter, right? I'm the 7th person. I'm coming off the bench, and I'm going to go in the portal because I think people want me.
Yeah.
And I go in the portal, and all of a sudden there's all these kids in the portal, plus these high school kids coming out of high school getting recruited.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, hey, I got 14 on scholarship. I don't want to go to 15. Like, we don't value that. You're going to cause problems. Now you went from having a nice, comfortable situation to, hey, I'm going to go play D2 or some other level of basketball because I don't have a home.
Right.
Or I didn't find a home that I thought I would find. I think in some cases, kids are leaving with they already know where I'm going to go. I know the amount I'm going to get. I'm guaranteed I'm going. But I think there's a vast majority of kids that don't have that blanket.
So are other programs recruiting these kids in season? I mean,
I know for a fact
they have to be.
I know for a fact those calls were being made in season to kids that weren't even in the portal.
Gee, right.
So the other problem, I think Gino Ariema made this point, is it's like opening NFL free agency first week of the playoffs, wild card weekend.
Right.
That's essentially what they did. Think about how much sense that makes.
John Calipari with Arkansas. He's at Arkansas now, Charch.
Yeah.
They won to get to the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm. Is he coaching Corliss Williamson?
On a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Corliss Williamson, and they're trying to get Latrell Sprewell to transfer from Alabama, but don't tell anybody. Bob Horry might come with him. Don't tell anybody.
All right.
It's private. All right, 3-2. But Calipari, his post-game press conference, he was asked a question, and he wasn't apoplectic, but he was scattered. And they had just advanced, I think, to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
And then he was paraphrasing, I'm sorry, the transfer portal opens tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm coaching these kids to get to here and try to get to here in one shining moment. And all I'm hearing about and all these texts I'm seeing are involving the transfer portal. With football and everything that's transpiring, and that thus as the timeliness goes, like Chad said, I mean, that just hit just a couple of weeks ago.
It needs to be more well thought out.
It's uncouth.
It just needs to be more well thought out and actually put some guardrail around it so it can kind of make some sense based off, and without taking these kids' universities' ability away from paying them, because that's not going to go away.
That's not going away. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0.
Yep.
Or is it 12-0?
But can you put a revenue sharing cap on this thing? You can give them a number. Every university has a number, and then the NIL stuff is that's untouchable, right? That's that kid's ability to go make money on their own. Again, there's going to be universities that have bigger boosters and more businesses and all these people that want to get around that and support. So that's going to be over and above what this revenue sharing number is going to be. So it's just going to be, it's going to be, can the coach compete? Can the coach go get kids in the high school level that want to come in there and hope they stay? They're the right kind of kid. Get 2 or 3 years out of them until they bounce, or maybe 1 year and bounce. It's just, I don't know. It's wild.
It's the Friday football. It's the
football feast.
On.
Something unexpected happened after Jeremy Scott confessed to killing Michelle Schofield in Bone Valley Season 1.
I just knew him as a kid.
Long, silent voices from his past came forward.
And he was just staring at me.
And they had secrets of their own to share.
Gilbert King. I'm the son of Jeremy Lynn Scott.
I was no longer just telling the story. I was part of it.
Every time I hear about my dad, he's a killer. He's just straight evil.
I was becoming the bridge between a killer and the son he'd never known.
If the cops and everything would have done their job properly, my dad would have been in jail. I would have never existed.
I never expected to find myself in this place. Now, I need to tell you how I got here.
At the end of the day, I'm literally a son of a killer.
Bone Valley, Season 2. Jeremy.
Jeremy, I want to tell you something.
Listen to new episodes of Bone Valley Season 2 starting April 9th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And to hear the entire new season ad-free with exclusive content starting April 9th, subscribe to Lava for Good Plus on Apple Podcasts.
KFAN. PA in Charch, back at full strength. That's debatable. Always were. Copyright Mr. Motzko's team. And this is the Friday Football Feast. Chad Greenway, courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka and Grey Duck Spirits and that Grey Duck deck at Target Field. He is a weekly component, 9 to noon. Final segment with Chad. Alec Lewis from The Athletic, an hour and change from now. An aside, or just a tentacle to the conversation for you two, because I know, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you two like to dabble in the stock market, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yours truly, who doesn't do much of that, I actually...
Which, by the way, today looks like a really good idea not to do much of that.
Well, see, that's why it's yours truly. From under the cover of darkness and out of nowhere, I actually have a stock tout for you guys.
Ooh.
And everybody listening right now.
Are we live on air?
We're on the radio.
All right.
This is a national company, and I'm sharing this in philanthropic fashion. I'd like everybody to consider it, okay?
Well, now I'm on. We have
Did Great Up go public?
We have a 7-second delay for those of us that are listening over the air. Streaming is like a 45-second delay. I need to buy immediately when you give the ticker symbol. I need to buy right then. So then when everybody else is trying to buy seconds from now, I will be in at the bottom price and everybody else will be pushing that value up.
Well,
100%. I'm getting on right now. I'm logging in.
Right.
So therefore, like you said, off the way things developed yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. And, there's a lot of fear over faith with the immediacy of the way things are going. Amen. That's fair to put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about the immediacy as of like right now, right? With the way the stock market went down yesterday and stuff. Here's my suggestion. I suggest both of you, with large sums of money, look into Sherwin-Williams. Now, are you Sherwin-Williams? You're familiar with it, right?
I am. Paint store.
Can you imagine, after what happened in the stock market yesterday, how much paint is going to be purchased in the immediate future so those idiots can all tag those Teslas? I mean, those fools are going to be running rampant today. So I'd get into Sherwin-Williams, or at least look at the ticker symbol and see.
It's a depressed value right now in Sherwin.
See what happens there, because, man, they're going to be buying it by the gallons and the buckets. So those fools can get to those plants.
Did I see this correctly?
Yeah, that was me who said that, believe it or not.
That is not like you. Did I see correctly that the Bloomington, Minnesota police are not going to charge a Tesla vandal because the Tesla vandal is turned into a victim because people are being mean to him or her?
I don't know.
Let's not give this any attention,
I just wanted to unfurl the Sherwin-Williams line because I felt good. I actually came up with a good stock line.
I like it.
So,
I like it.
3-2. Chad, off-season program for the Minnesota Vikings start date is April 21st. Listen to these dates closely. Off-season program, start date April 21st. 9 voluntary OTAs, 9 voluntary organized team activities begin in late May.
You're shaking your head.
Okay. There's a 3-day mandatory minicamp, June 10, 11, and 12. And then they're gone until the end of July and training camp. Is that schedule lighter than usual?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't track off seasons that closely, but it was always 15 OTAs, organized team activities, for those wondering. And then you'd have the mini camp. But I always felt like we weren't out until like June 20th-ish in that range because we did have more of those OTAs. So we'd come back after mini camp, finish our OTAs. And then a lot of guys would go back. A lot of guys would stay and just train here and then get prepared for training camp, and away you go. So it does seem lighter. I don't know. I've not been following the offseason, what the process has been like, but it seems light to me. And it just, again, it goes to show you what kind of program are you going to have week one, preseason, week one of regular season, with the lack of togetherness, opportunities on the field to actually go out and have a product that you'll be proud of in the first month of the season.
Can you, as a player, do you know anything by the first handful of OTAs? In your history, because you had a lot of them, you're like, already it's clicking. This is a good sign. Or we're all bleeped up and this is a bad sign. Can you really glean anything in those earliest of OTAs?
Actually, I want to start before that. I'm glad you said that, because off-season workouts, the off-season program is the first to begin. So off what Charch presented, what can you do with McCarthy for the month of off-season workouts in the program up to the OTA?
Yeah, and what you basically get is you have a bunch of guys that are coming in just working out. They're doing speed work, they're doing lifting, and then they're throwing together. In that case, they'd be throwing together on their own off in the field and just getting timing, getting togetherness. You see all these groups that are in California in warm weather doing the same thing. It's just you're doing it with your receivers, with your quarterback. You're doing it here after your workouts. And to be honest with you, could not be a bigger believer in the off season and how important it is to just gel, to come together, to be able to bond, to go grab dinner, grab breakfast. You get your workout in together. Yeah. That's the time when these relationships and bonds are formed. Right. Is when you're in the weight room at 6:30. You go to your speed work. You're competing. You're having fun. You're building that camaraderie that's going to be so important in this grinder of a season. And in the ever-changing rosters, right, of new guys coming in and coming and going. Oh, I've played against that guy, or I know who he was. Now he's on our team.
Yeah.
Right. He's in the covenant. He's working out with us, and love to get to know him and kind of see what he's all about. And the culture is formed of what the team is going to be like. And then all of a sudden you start to get to OTAs, right? And now that sort of bond is there. And now you start putting in scheme and schematics. Now you're on the field. You're going through film. You have more of a light practice. You can learn about your scheme. You can learn about who you are. You can learn about personnel. You don't really learn a whole lot until you get the pads on, right? As far as like who's playing this position until you start making full speed decisions.
Right.
Even these young guys who get drafted or come in or young free agents, you can see them move. You see them go. But when the pads come on, when it gets real, and you see a guy that has an incredible offseason, gets to training camp and just absolutely can't function because the pads come on and real football starts to be played.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
It is. Yep.
So I just wonder with McCarthy, like what you can do now.
Well, it's building. You're still building. You're running your route tree. You're running concepts that they have their play sheet. They're taking on their own though. Like they're just there's no coaches involved. They're not doing this at the beginning.
Oh,
so but that's even more important. Is I don't have a structured thing with my coach that's going to lead me through these routes, and that it's just me out there spitballing, throwing these routes, working on timing. Where's the receiver like the ball? This route. How can I get the ball to him? They're learning the speed of the pass that he has, the trajectory he's throwing the ball, the spin, they're reading all these things. And then you get to OTAs. Now we're structured. Now we're timing. And you've built that camaraderie in the offseason to understand how to work with each other. It's really, really important.
So for JJ, who's now got to assume very much a leadership position in these early OTAs, he has not earned anything yet. Yeah. I mean, on field, he has not earned anything. How does a young kid walk that line between being a leader because you're a quarterback and that's an important position and it's a leadership position for sure, but he hasn't earned it yet. And so isn't there a fine line for a kid like JJ to come in and try to assert some leadership, but not like trample a veteran? Harrison Smith has earned the right to be a leader, right?
100%.
You know what I mean? So how do you walk that fine line as a young quarterback?
Well, the best part is it's not like he didn't exist last year. I mean, he just wasn't on the team, right? He wasn't out playing. So he's around the team. They know him. He's eating with the guys in the locker room with the guys. He's traveling with the guys. Like he's part of the team. He's built those relationships within that roster. To now go out and say, the position you play requires you to be a vocal leader, vocal communicator on the field. So you have a comfort level now with those guys to go out in the field and be demanding, right? Be critical, but it's all going to be about how he's critical of himself as well.
Yeah.
When he's holding himself accountable to a bad throw or an errant this or whatever it is, or a bad communication, or hey, that's on me. That's how leadership is sort of just gathered at that position. You have no experience to go out and actually make plays. But this is not the first time this kid's played quarterback before.
Yep.
He played high-level quarterback at Michigan. He obviously won a national championship. He's been there, done that to that level. He hasn't done it here, which is a huge difference. But he knows that fine line to walk of communicating as a quarterback without demanding and pointing out and pointing blame and placing blame. The way this kid talks and operates, he gets that vibe. And I think he's going to be that nice blend of accountability, but also I'm a vocal leader and a guy who's going to eventually take this team and organization over as our goal. Is that he's the face of this franchise for a number of years.
Were there any scenarios when you were playing in your time there where somebody showed up and tried to be a leader and it didn't work? Like somebody who'd try to assert himself in a way that just rubbed everybody wrong and maybe hadn't earned it yet or the personality wasn't right or whatever.
Yeah. Have you talked to Ray Edwards lately?
I always love that.
We're talking text more than people know. There's several examples of, and it's predominantly when free agents come in as, look at what I've done at so-and-so organization. Now I'm going to come in here. And it's just a different locker room and a different vibe. You have to kind of get to know and understand the culture of that locker room before you just come in and say, hey, here's what I've done. Look at me. It's like, you haven't done it here. Show us again, what makes you who you are. And then, but also feel the vibe and how this thing operates here. And eventually a lot of those guys end up becoming that leader that they were at the other organization. But when young guys come in, and they may have a lot of energy and a lot of zip and a lot of zest, but there's those times and moments when it's like, let's let the captains and the leaders and experienced guys speak and understand what level of accountability and culture we want to set. And when those guys come in, if they're riding the line and they're doing the same things, they're going to gain that voice a lot sooner than they are if they're coming in, they're doing their own thing, but saying a different thing. So we're watching constantly as a team in general of holding each other accountable constantly in a weight room in speed training and workouts. You're constantly holding each other, engaging the level and the bar that's required to be really, really good.
So with Grey Duck with the Twins home, the deck, the Bombas. Do we still have Bombas?
We have the Bomba. Okay.
I
poured so many Bomba juice cocktails at the Grey Duck deck yesterday. If you're going to the deck, the weather's good. It's not excellent.
Fantastic
but
right
it's
now.
It's fantastic. Look at the sun's out, no wind. But the reality is you go to the Gray Duck deck, they have the heaters overhead will keep you warm. Come on out of your seat, come down to the deck, left field porch. Beautiful view of the field. Maybe catch a little sun on that south side. Grab yourself a Gray Duck Bomba Juice cocktail, and away you go. Have yourself a day.
Appreciate you, man, and we'll see you next week.
I appreciate you guys.
Chad Greenway, 5-2 Radio, Gray Duck Vodka, Gray Duck Spirits, into the middle portion of the radio show after this.
Something unexpected happened after Jeremy Scott confessed to killing Michelle Schofield in Bone Valley Season 1.
Every time I hear about my dad, it's, oh, he's a killer. He's just straight evil.
I was becoming the bridge between Jeremy Scott and the son he'd never known.
At the end of the day, I'm literally a son of a killer.
Listen to new episodes of Bone Valley Season 2 starting April 9th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.